All right, guys, welcome to the Table Talk Radio Show. Today is 4/20/2020. Hey, that might mean something to a lot of people. I don't think nobody on this broadcast, but nowadays, but it means something to a whole lot of other people that are out there. But it's been 4/20 all this month anyway. But moving right along there, we're so glad that you guys have tuned into the Table Talk Radio Show. I'm your host, Tanisha Simpkins. I have two of the co-hosts here of the show. That's Pastor A. Nathan Austin and also Dr. Teresa Lee. And our recurring host here, Dr. David Doris Carr. And we have some awesome guests that have joined us. That will be, let me see what you put in here. Oh, you put Miss Sheila E. Miss, no, I'm sorry, Miss Sheila McCormick. And we have Vincente Thrower, if I pronounce that correctly, Vincente. And the people that we added are people of our community. We're going to go ahead and get in some discussions, but I'll just have a light 30 seconds to say, how are you guys doing so far? I think it's been 4 weeks now since our pandemic of the COVID-19 or the coronavirus. 30 seconds. How is everyone so far? Go ahead,
I'm,
David.
I'm well, by the grace of God. Been working hard. This is a time where more businesses are inquiring about getting financing because of the situation. So been working hard, but I'm well.
Well, yeah, you good. You work in finance. All right, Pastor A.
I'm healthy and I'm full and at home with the kids, so I'm doing great.
Guilty of fool. Teresa.
We're doing all right, hanging in there with the Lee three. And I think my husband is gonna go back to work next week. So his set of hands is gonna be missed the past 4 weeks. It's been me and him with the kids, and we're gonna go back to just me next week. So
All
we'll see how it
right.
goes.
And what about you, Vincente?
Enjoying this long vacation. I think I take a vacation every day, so this just added more days to it. So it
Oh,
just
okay.
it's
Okay.
crazy. But blessed and happy to see the men of God and the women of God on here today.
All right. Awesome. And Sheila, how are you? I know
We're
you
good.
busy.
We're good over here. We're still moving everything as far as the campaign. I'm in healthcare, so we're making sure we're trying to get as much PPE to the people, the nurses, the doctors, and trying to keep these kids educated. Now I'm like a teacher's assistant all of a sudden for two high school students.
Mhm.
So it's a hard juggling act.
Okay. Awesome. 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 Guys, and if you're out there who are listening to the Table Talk Radio Show, if you could please share this message and also give us some hearts to let me know you are there. And if you have anything to say, any type of comments, make sure that you do ask us. Just send your comments in, join the conversation, as we would say. If you have anything that you guys would like to say. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the our first topic here, and our first topic is opening the states. And I said opening the states because as it looks, our president, number 45, he has given the okay for our governors to make a decision to open the states. And all of us here are in the state of Florida, some of us from different other states, though originally from, but opening the states. It's May 1st, as we would see it. I already know because the lady, my daughter's employer asked her, did she want to come back to work on May 4th? That's at the Broward Mall, so they would be open. I haven't given her a decision yet. Look, you say I haven't, because I'm not sure if I want her to go back to work. But what do you guys think about that? And I'll ask you, candidate Sheila. Tell everybody what you're running for first, before I call you a candidate, Sheila.
I'm running for United States House of Representatives for the 20th district, which encompasses Broward and Palm Beach County.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And what are your thoughts about the president opening the states?
It's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea
Hmm.
because we don't have a hold of the disease just yet. Other places where they consider that, other countries, they actually were experiencing a downslope. Whereas in Florida, we're still rising, we're still climbing. So to think about opening or even positioning to opening yourself up is a real problem, especially for our community, because we still don't have adequate amounts of tests available to us, and we still don't have enough protective PPE, protective personal equipment to us. So what we're going to be opening ourselves up to are more cases and more contamination, which is a huge problem for our community. So it's a terrible idea. And I'm just hoping that we have a lot of people stepping up. I know we're demanding every day to have more PPE. And if you want our people to go to work, you better make sure that you have those places protected. You're still subscribing to social distancing, and you're going to have some kind of way to make sure that it's not spreading. The contamination isn't there.
So how long do you think we actually need more time on?
It depends on the numbers. Once we start experiencing a decline, we just started having 2 walk-up testing sites in our neighborhoods. We just got that. Meanwhile, there's some other places where they had testing kits, in their homeowners association because they had money. So until we have access to testing, until we have personal protective equipment that's available for first responders, for our healthcare providers, and people in food distribution, if we're not covered in those areas, we're all open, we're susceptible to it. Because regardless if you're showing symptoms or if you're not, you need to eat. And if you do have symptoms, you're going to be in front of a healthcare professional. And as we can see, even our first responders, a lot of them are getting sick and passing. And that's because they are not protected. So if we can't protect essential, what do you think they're going to do with us? There's just no protection there, protection there.
And Vicente, I want to ask you. So the question was, I know you blanked out for a moment. It was about the idea of opening our state right now. As you know that we will be open May 1st. And the question was, is it an idea? Are we moving too fast, too soon? Is it about the money? Is it about the people? That's a question for everyone that's here. Right now is versus money versus people.
I'm gonna be honest with everybody on the phone.
Go ahead. We know you're an honest guy.
If you didn't get if you didn't get the $1,200 check, and you didn't get some of the money from the federal government, it's like it's a catch-22. If you don't open the state back up, you're gonna have a lot of kids and a lot of parents out there. After the 45-day executive order from the governor, a lot of people are gonna start getting those eviction notices. So for the pastors on here, your members are gonna be knocking on your door saying, "Hey, I'm in a situation. I need some help." The 45 days helped me, because I didn't have any money. It helped me stay here. But now them 45 days are up. So it's like it's a catch-22. If you don't do it, and they're not getting any unemployment or any relief from the federal government or the state, they're going to be facing some hard situations. Eviction. I mean, the Brazilian community right now, for those who are undocumented, are right now being harassed right now because they don't know the law, and they're being told that if they don't pay their money, they need to get up out of their houses. So, if you don't do nothing, if you don't open the states back up, how is this going to affect people from paying their car notes, paying their house? I know people have been furloughed. From Broward Health, people have been furloughed from public jobs. How are they going to sustain and pay their bills if we don't do something? And they're not getting any aid from the federal government. Unemployment is taking a long time to kick in, and you got kids. So there's no good way of smoothing this over. If they're not getting paid, and the federal government is giving Ruth Chris all the money, you got to do something. I'm not saying that not for the record. I'm not saying that the governor is 100% correct on how he rolls it out. I'm saying that we look at how do we move it forward in order to make sure that people are not homeless.
Can I respond?
Right now, hold that thought. Go ahead. Anybody else?
I wanted to say something, but I'll let everybody else say something first.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Teresa or Nathan. Go ahead, David.
Well, this is very controversial. You could definitely see both sides to it. To make matters even more controversial, one of the lead scientists is in the Trump administration, a Black lady named Dr. Corbett, recently said that this is going to be a genocide against Black folks. It blew up. It was on Tucker Carlson, and it's been blowing up because she said that if doctors have to choose who to give the ventilators to, she doesn't believe that Black folks are going to be some of those people that are going to be recipients of those ventilators when they certainly have adequate amount of ventilators. So my opinion is this: I just think that it's a little bit of politics, because if you look at what he said, he gave himself an out. He says this is a phase 1 plan to open the government on certain conditions. So I think he realizes people are getting frustrated. People don't want to be home. People are going to face financial problems. So he wants someone else to blame. But if you look at the details of what he said, it's a lot of metrics that has to be met before that governor could open it up. So I think he's just playing it both sides for a political, it's more political. I think that his statement has no concrete actions or follow-up to it if you read the
we know that. We know that by his logic of what he says and how he thinks and what and again what he says and how he talks and how his unorthodox or how his unscripted speeches are, but that's why I said is right now they're using it as versus the people versus the money, because they're saying that people need to be out, they need that socialness, everyone, the rate of depression, so that's why they opening up the beaches so people can be out. At first they said the heat was not a problem, then they said the heat really didn't help. So now that they open the beaches, I seen something in the paper say, oh, now the heat will kill, so it's everything to get people out and about. But you have anything that you like to add, Dr. Lee?
I'm taking it all in still. I actually have an article pinned that I was going to read about how other countries are handling it. Sorry if y'all can hear my babies. And because I knew even when they made the announcement, while people were rejoicing over $2,500, I knew it wouldn't be enough, because you're now releasing it 4 weeks later, when many people were living paycheck to paycheck anyway. So not only will the $2,500 be gobbled up by existing bills, but it won't leave enough room for future bills or food. I think it is definitely a catch-22. There is good and bad on both ends, but I do find it interesting that we have officially decided to close schools for the 2019-2020 academic school year the same day we announced that beaches will be opening. So my husband and I randomly just said, babe, let's drive by the beach real quick. Now, the beach that I live closest to is not open. However, the boardwalk was so full of people, there was absolutely no way you could practice social distancing. We also drove by, what is it called? The Intercoastal, and the boats were plentiful. So I think that the notion that people are just staying in their homes and not going anywhere is a bit misleading, because it seems like a lot of people are out in the streets. Maybe it was just my neighborhood or the neighborhood I drove past, but it did seem like a lot of people were still out. I think to put a May 1st, we'll let you decide to open up or not open up is very dangerous. It's very dangerous. But I think we also have to take into consideration that a lot of those people with those, a lot of those minorities with jobs that weren't necessarily considered essential but didn't stop are risking their lives every day already. Right. So I'm not 100% sure it'll make a difference when it opens, because I still see them on the bus stop when I go to my once a week trip to the grocery store. I still see them walking down the street. I still see them, and they don't get to take a day off because they're scared they'll lose their jobs. So I can't give a definitive answer. I really don't know. It's a hard one.
Nathan?
I'm like, it has a catch-22. Of course, I'm looking at it from the angle of a pastor and a business owner and a person who didn't got any stimulus or any SBA loans or
We breaking
anything.
up.
So I understand the economics of it. However, one of the things that I'm wrestling with is I would like to have a better input from the medical standpoint. I would like for the doctors to kind of be in on the reopening as well. I think to just solely based upon economics is dangerous, although it is necessary. I agree with Vicente and others to suggest that not reopening will cause long-term damage because the stimulus was not done properly. While many people, as Teresa said, was happy and celebrating over $2,200 or $2,500 or whatever it was,
It
they
was
did not understand that that's only going to be limited.
1,200.
And so I think that we've seen this is a cover up from the fact that number one, the SB late was a disaster. It did not cover small business really virtually at all. State of Florida, only 10% of those who applied received it. And so I believe all of this is really a cover up for the mere fact that the stimulus, which a lot of people, a lot of Democrats and some Republicans got trashed for not agreeing with it or delaying it because they understood that this was not going to be enough. It was not going to be sufficient enough. It had too many loopholes that multi-millionaires and some billionaires have been able to take advantage of. And now this is a cover up for that. Since we know we really didn't help you, let's go ahead and open it back up. Medical, for the lack of a better term, be damned. Let's try to use the opening back up to cover the fact that we did not help the people to be able to sustain as long as they needed to be sustained to make sure we get past this.
Yeah, and one of the things is I know what's her name? The lady with the hat. Lord, I shouldn't say that.
Frederica Wilson.
Frederica Wilson. I know. Huh?
Frederica Wilson.
Yeah, she was talking. I heard her talking. And she was saying, yeah, she was saying something about they're proposing, and we know that's a negotiation of 2,000 a month. I don't know for how long, and also the negotiation for renters. And I'm thinking, like, if you're an owner and someone is renting, you still gonna lose too, right? As a person, as a landlord. And I know we're in a pandemic, but it's like, okay, it's still a catch-22 because you can't say, well, I guess you could, I don't know. Hey, you need to not charge this person for the next 3 months. And the person who is a landlord, like, hey, I still gotta pay, my mortgage if the place is not already paid off or whatever the case may be. So it's a lot of things that puts us in that stressor, I guess, when it comes to that. And it's actually 1,200, Teresa, not 25. It would have been nice when it started at 25, but it started out at 1,200, which is only going to pay probably one, bill. You know what I'm saying? But I want to go to Vicente since we're talking about that, and I know that you've been doing a lot of talking when it comes to the business loan and the stimulus package and so forth. And someone just put out the other day, I sent you guys a link of how, or actually they made it public, which I was surprised of who all received the actual monies. Now the thing about it is, everybody was looking on that list to see if they identified certain particular names, urban black names or however you want to say it, to see if we, was part of that money that we received. Now, when it happened, and we were on here, David, we told people get that money, sign up and get it. But a lot of us took our time, dragged our foot. It'll still be there. They went by what they said would be the deadline, assuming that we still had a whole lot to get. But go ahead, Vicente.
I'm going to first start off by saying the list that has been published, that was the state's $50 million loan fund until the federal government came up with their pot of money. And that list was the 1,000 people or the 1,000 companies that ate up all that money. And you're correct. If you look at that list, You had some husband and wives companies. I mean, they got almost
Three and four
$500,000. The
times.
limit of
Yeah.
that was 3 or 4 times. And Sheila can they can give a little more background on the situation about the loan program. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, it reeks of here's the situation on how this works. If you don't know the branch manager in your bank, and that branch manager don't know you and they looking at your bank account and don't know that you got a $500,000 a month coming in or $1 million a month coming in, because there are certain big church organizations. I don't want to put their business out there, but their branch manager called them and told about their payroll. I believe was like $15 million or some ridiculous number, or they had a whole bunch of money, and they reached out to them, prepared them before this thing even hit, and made sure that they were able to put their documents in. We have a serious disadvantage because, and like our pastor like pastor just said, it seems to be a situation that it's the have and the have-nots.
Yes.
As much as we got black elected officials, legislators, I'm gonna call them out, but I don't spare them. I said it on my Facebook page. You got black legislators that go to Tallahassee year and year round. They come home every 2 years and say that they want us to help them. But while they in Tallahassee, from January to March, they meet these lobbyists. They meet these bank presidents. They meet these vice presidents. They had it within their hand to get on the phone when they knew the state was going to roll out this $50 million. They to call up those individuals and say, hey, how do I get this information, and who's the branch manager? How do I get this out there? I want to go on Table Talk. I want to talk about it and introduce this. Hey, everybody now want to be Facebook celebrities and now trying to have all these Facebook, but they didn't come around and tell us what they were doing in Tallahassee. But at the end of the day, but they supported Am Scott. Am Scott is going to be where everybody have to go and get a little loan from in order to sustain their house, which is wrong. And that is part of the problem. They don't come back home and make those resources available. There's no way.
Sheila.
I live in Pompano Beach.
Yes.
Hey, there's no way I live in Pompano Beach. $50 million if the city got it, I'm gonna come and tell all their business. Y'all know me. I'm gonna tell all their business. And I'm gonna tell y'all how y'all can get it. Hey, Rev, that right, Rev? I'm gonna tell you how you can get it, Rev.
Yeah, let me talk to Sheila because y'all know Miss City. Go ahead, Sheila.
I think we need to back up a little bit so we can have full understanding about what's going on and responsibilities, because there seems to be a miscommunication on responsibilities as far as evictions, right? So the federal government, along with the state, they can pause evictions. So as far as sending people to work because they could be evicted, they can pause that. As far as owners who have people who can't pay their bills, they could give them a subsidy to cover that. Remember, we pay taxes. This is not money that someone's borrowing. This is coming from us. This is our money. We have a right to demand where our money is going. You know, we're talking about now we're talking about the Florida Small Business Loan. That bridge loan is through the state. That's $50 million. When we're talking about federal dollars, our tax dollars, we're talking about $348 billion. $billion. And when they crafted that bill didn't have instructions for the bank on how to give it. What that means is they have discretion. They have discretion in the process, the policies, how they're going to give it. I'm a business owner. We've been in business for over 28 years. And yes, my bank called me and our paperwork was done a week ahead of time. And so we started having we had town halls. We were telling people, if you are at a banking institution, call your banking institution right now and tell them that if they will not prioritize you for your PPE, which is the payroll protection program, you will take your business somewhere else. Because at the end of the day, we have paid the bank over and over again for them not to prioritize us. And as the Black community, we can no longer sit there begging. What are we begging for? I give you money. You know, I'm giving you business. So now that I'm in this position, I'm going to leverage my power and tell you that when this second time opens up, if you didn't prioritize me, I'm taking me and all my money to another bank because they will prioritize you. We found that the smaller banks were actually giving money, even the Black banks. they have people who were getting loans.
Right.
But if you were with those bigger banks, they did not prioritize the Black community. Another issue that we found in it, the way they set up their terms, the information they were asking for. We did a survey. We still have a survey out. People were sending information back and forth, which was delaying the process. Whereas other people, they had their information, they had a approval within 24 hours. And those companies had accountants on staff waiting. They were prepared. What about the small businesses that actually needed the money? This is what happened here. The failure was in congressional oversight. Congressional oversight. Congress has a responsibility to make sure our money is getting to the people. Where was the congressional oversight? It was direct discretion for the banks. Do what y'all want. And we already seen this before. In 2008, when we had the TARP money coming in for the foreclosure, it did not come to our community. So why would Congress now blindly hand over $348 billion to the banks? And now we're surprised that it ran out a week or 2 weeks later. There's no surprise in this. What it is that we have to hold our people accountable. Half of the reason the people in our district don't know this is because our congressman has been missing. You know, every night Ted Deutsch gets on there and he tells his district how to get the money, be prepared, how to get funding. Every single night Ted Deutsch does that. Why is it that our community does not know what we're entitled to? Why is it that our community is constantly begging? There's a big election about to happen, the presidential election. And if they want our votes, I better see some oversight. If there is no oversight, if this second round does not come to our community, if we do not see Black and women business owners getting this money, then I don't think we should be giving our vote. We just have to negotiate. Long are the times where people take us for granted. As long as we allow them to, they will. And that's what this is really coming down to. When it comes to the, this is another thing people don't understand that people aren't talking about. FEMA has a $200 billion budget. And half of that money, they were supposed to secure protective PPE, which is personal protective equipment. Out of that $200 billion, as of like 2 weeks ago, they could only allocate 20% of where that protective gear was, 20%. Last week, they were reporting 50%. Now they know where 50% of that gear is. And the other 50% is with private companies. That's why you have other places like Fisher Island that has a mask and they have tests. And we have nothing. We have to understand what's going on. That's our money that they have in their backyard. And we don't have any. We have, 2 walk-up centers? Absolutely not. If you see what's been happening to us systematically, they have not been prioritizing our economic development nor our healthcare. And that's why we're being decimated. I think it's a little easy for people to talk and say, well, this is going on and they don't know how it's going to be once it opens up. I can tell you firsthand what it's going to be because my employees didn't have the options of staying home. We're dying. I had nurses who died. Some of the nurses were infecting their parents and their parents died. That's what outside looks like. And so when you go to the grocery store or when that nurse is going to be there shopping, she just came from the hospital and you're going to be right there. She has no symptoms, nothing at all. And you're going to get it. And when you get home, if you have asthma, diabetes, any kind of comorbidity that you have, you're not surviving this thing. Once you get on that ventilator, people aren't surviving the ventilator. The reports I'm getting from the doctors are they literally take one ventilator, put it on one person, that person dies, they switch it to the next person, the person dies. This is what's happening. So a lot of us don't see it because we're home. But when we start going out there, that's going to happen. You don't know who has it, who doesn't. I just spoke to some doctors and they told me they're wrapping their hair. They don't wear jewelry just so they won't spread contamination. When we see our police officers dying, it's not because they did something negligent. They were out there serving. So when we start working, what do you think is going to happen to us? As of right now, our community still doesn't know that testing is free. I just got off another call and they didn't know that testing is free. They thought you had to have insurance. Some people haven't been to a doctor within 5 years, so they don't even know if they have diabetes, asthma. They have no clue. And all you got to do is be exposed once, and we're risking that. And that's what we have to realize as a community, what's really going on. Why is it that these numbers are not being reported? When that thing was hitting other communities, they shut down everything. So the National Guard. Now that it's coming through our community, there is silence. Where is it? And that's where we can't allow them to do that to us because what they're telling us to do is go save yourself. And I tell people every day, you need to understand what the implications are when they tell you to stay home. If you do not have insurance, that means if you feel like you have a cough, you got to figure it out yourself. I don't know who you're going to call, but you got to figure it out yourself. If you have insurance, insurances have moved to telehealth. So you will call your doctor and he'll be like, well, let me write you a prescription or send you a prescription for antibiotics. Try that. So if you have no insurance, you're fending for yourself. Now, let's say you get into the hospital because at this point, your COVID, your symptoms are horrendous. So they admit you. The hospital is trying to kick people out as soon as possible. So they're kicking them out. What ends up happening there? So if you have insurance, what they do is they call a home health and they send you home with a nurse. If you do not have insurance, they send you home and say, good luck. That is the system. That's how we're living. So we have to take it serious. And as us being leaders, we are the gatekeepers. If we say it's okay, then everybody who we vote for, we pay for, they say, oh, it's okay. But other communities have been saying absolutely not. And that's what we have to do as a community. Everything else, if they can put money into giving to Ruth Chris, then you better believe they can give money to landlords to subsidize the people who can't pay rent. This is ridiculous. There's no reason. So all these things that I hear going on, I feel bad because as a community, we're so used to, fending for ourselves, saving ourselves. There's no need for that anymore. Everyone must be held accountable. Yes, Tallahassee must be held accountable. But remember, Tallahassee only had $50 million. What happened to the rest of the $400 billion? Let's talk there. Let's start there.
Absolutely. Guys, I am loving this. I mean, if you have anything to say after that, go ahead.
And David, maybe you can help me with this. Here's what we have to understand about the banks. Every time that it happened Obama administration, every time there's a stimulus, the banks win twice. Because whenever there is money involved and people are getting money, they're either going to pay off something that involves a bank, or they're going to put the money in the. So we have banks being bailed out, or banks who have discretion as to how money is being used, and who receive stimulus, they're going to take that same money and put it in those banks. So what ends up happening is the banks end up winning twice. We're still giving them our money because when we deposit those stimulus checks into their accounts, we give them our money so that there's more money that is going into the banks. And now, as Vicente said, the banks are not getting the minority. It's an opportunity to receive the funds. And so every time minorities, small businesses, and minorities from an ethnic perspective, we always lose. And the banks, in most cases, win twice. And that's basically what's happening. Some of them are getting bailed out. They're giving cash flow to some of their bigger friends in business while we're yet pouring more money into their banks. And as Sheila said, we have to wise up, go to our banks, especially if you have money and have a business and has money in their banks, and understand that you have the leverage. I'm not going to continue to give you my money so you can spread out without me getting something out of it when I need it the most.
Yeah. I think
David.
So, me working with over 100 funders, I had about 2 that was participating in the PPP. So there's a couple of things that goes on. One that you guys are talking about, I will address second. What I'm going to address first is the fact that Secretary Mnuchin did mess things up because they didn't have any guidelines originally. So when you send everything and you say, hey, you could start lending, but there's no guidelines, what happened is the banks were afraid that if the people defaulted, they would get stuck with that default. And so
what people? Which people? Let me stop. Which people?
Anybody that they lend
small to. Was it more?
Yeah, anybody that they lend to. Because the way the SBA loans work is the government kind of protect the bank in case of a default. So the bank feels free to lend, whatever the case may be. And they were waiting on getting clarity on what these guidelines were. By the time they got clarity, we've not seen anything like this before. There was a bottleneck. There was so much applications, it was hard to process. Now, did the banks prioritize the bigger loans over the smaller loans? You better, yes, they always do. If you're looking for a loan today, I tell people that all the time. Get the maximum amount you are eligible for, because that's what they're interested in. If I'm charging 5% interest 5% interest off 500,000 is a whole lot better than 5% interest off 50,000. So therefore, just based upon the numbers game, they always do want to prioritize the bigger loans because they make more money that way. And this is why I believe the debate with Nancy Pelosi, they said they want to earmark the next stimulus. They want to make sure that minority businesses, veteran businesses, and small businesses that did not benefit the first time around get a chance to get it. And Mitch McConnell was saying, no, we need more money. Just put more money. We already had a bipartisan agreement. Pass it and let's go with that. But the Democrats said, no. We know who got it the first time. And there's a lot of people that did not get it. So we want to make sure that a portion of that is earmarked for these special groups, as well as make sure there's adequate state and the healthcare professionals. So from what I hear, they're close to a deal, but they're not there yet.
So I want
David, do you agree with that? You're a Republican on the group. I want to ask that question real quickly, David. Do you agree with that strategy of Nancy Pelosi asking for the guidelines to be put in place?
Yeah, I agree, and I'm conservative and Republican, but I agree that not everybody's getting it. So therefore, you need to make sure that that's earmarked so that way. This is, if the government is going to be helping people, they need to help everybody.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what we hope. Yeah.
Yeah. If the government is stepping in, I believe in small government and special times, but this is a special circumstance. And this is, there do need to be guidelines put in place to make sure that underrepresented communities are getting help. And it's not because you know somebody in the White House or you know someone, and you're friends with someone that you're getting it. Another thing that's happening that a lot of people are not talking about is that the inspector general that was supposed to monitor how some of this got spent, Trump fired.
Right,
So,
right.
We already know that Congress's power of oversight.
I think you got stuck, David.
I'm sorry. I said that the inspector general that was supposed to be monitoring a lot of how this got spent got fired by Trump. So that's another issue that's being, that people are not talking about. And, people saying it's payback because he submitted the information to Congress during the impeachment. People say different things, but that's something that's currently going on. Pastor, you had something you were going to say?
No, I'm good. I just like to mess with me and you the same person. I just like to throw you under the bus sometimes. And you think the same. I'm on that conservative train too, so don't worry about that. I'm just happy you agree.
Oh yeah.
So I want to ask one more question before Sheila gets off, and this is the question that we're dealing with right now in the Black community. Right now, they're saying like 40% of those on the front line or in our community are the ones that are being most affected with coronavirus, COVID-19, or whatever name, I think it's a new name they may have given it, that we are the most affected. How can we, it's to the point now I had to tell my mama, I was like, listen, stay home, lady. Once a week, like you, Teresa, once a week. You don't need to be out forgetting that you got to get this, forgetting that you have to get this, because it's serious out here, considering for the last few days of different people who I've known have been, passing away and dying, and folks been wanting to go to funerals and, which is a whole nother, I guess it's the same topic, wanting to, still set up a funeral. Still, I seen on Sunday, and y'all might have seen it too. I seen folks was up and dressed going to church. I'm like, where they going? Like, I know I can't tell. You can't tell people that they have to close their church. I know I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? But considering, like you just said, Sheila. like you said, Sheila, people were here and then they came to church and all these other places. Right now, what is it that we need to do? Because you are healthcare, you know, um, you own a healthcare facilities. What is it that we in our race, what are we not doing? What is it? Why is the number so high?
We have to be educating our community. That funding that's there has to go towards educating our community on how to stay safe and for them to understand how contagious this disease really is. We don't really have an understanding about that. We can't even identify everybody who has corona and who doesn't have corona. So there's certain things we have to have in place, which is the testing, education, and also the protective gear. But on a bigger scale, the thing that we can do, because right now what we've noticed in the first time in history, the solutions that people are putting forth to combat this pandemic are new solutions. They're all unique solutions, which this actually gives us an opportunity to start molding what's going on in Congress, federally. We have an opportunity to mold it. If we talk about things that we need to be demanding as a community, we do need to be demanding healthcare. I know Bernie Sanders is actually putting up a bill to open up Medicaid for just this pandemic. Now, they might not want to do that because that's a big step. But even if you open up a telehealth portal where anybody can call and say, I'm feeling sick, what should I do? These are simple things that we can open up that Medicaid can cover. Now, mind you, I've been in healthcare for more than 20 years. I've managed Medicaid budgets over 20 million. So this is something I can tell you, it's very simple for us to do, to open up that portal where you have people calling in and saying, I have a cough. This is how I'm feeling. What should I do? But until we can really get our people the help we need, the assistance we need, then we're always going to be sitting there figuring out how we can do it for ourselves. We really have to take seriously the power of the pen right now. We've talked about before in other times about the power of the pen, writing legislature. There's simple fixes that could have been done. Even when it comes to right now, we're talking about the PPP, Payroll Protection Program. The reason why it's so desirable because it's forgivable. Essentially for certain people,
Right.
It can turn into a grant, right? And so how do you correct that?
Right.
That's just simple language. Put language inside of the bill that states that a certain amount has to go to designated people, a certain amount, just specific language that's used in a lot of different other ways. And that's what the real power of the pen is. And that's where we have to be looking and holding our elected officials accountable. What have you used the power of your pen? Are you putting us in there? And it's little things. They're about to pass another bill. So the House wants to vote on a bill as early as Wednesday. And, so my campaign, we've been out there feeding the community. We even put together a petition where we're trying to get them just to write that in. Just a simple line saying that we want a certain portion to make sure it gets to minority and women businesses. That's a simple, or even give them guidance, that they have to report. That's not even transparent. I love that Florida State required them to expose who got the money, but on a federal level, it is not required to have that data. We have to sit there and figure out who got that money, who didn't. So we have to organize ourselves as a community to teach and educate ourselves, but we really cannot miss this opportunity to place our demands. This is it. This is when we have to say, open up that.
That means there's gonna be a lot of grants for that. Now, for real.
Hey, I want to chime in and say something about this. And I'm trying not to be funny about it, but I ain't gonna beat around the bush no more. I'm getting tired of talking about minorities. We're talking about blacks, man. I can't keep just paticating around this situation. I'm talking about blacks at this particular point. I want to call it what it is, blacks. Black people have to be part of the discussion. We are the left out. We are always left out and the last people to be talked about.
But
I'm trying to be conservative on every time we say minority. Then it becomes women, and then when it become women, it become the white women that end up being the minority. I mean, come on, we gotta speak truth to power. Because truth to power that's the only thing that's gonna see us through this. Because I'm gonna tell you something: when people cannot pay their rent and losing their houses, they're gonna go to the church. So one of the things I want to see in these bills is some more money, grant money, that will give support to the churches so that they can be a source of resource to put some of this money in. And I'm telling you, it needs to go through the church. There needs to be a situation where some of these faith-based organizations.
Well, I don't really agree with that, and I'm gonna tell you the reason why.
I say faith-based.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you the reason why. I work with churches Teresa, you work with churches as a consultant, and not everyone is financially educated. So I would that would be
It
a no for me.
absolutely does
Period.
not need to go through the churches.
Well, come on.
I'm sorry.
Let's
I
give
know
Church the
I'm
benefit of the doubt.
David and
Let's
Pastor
give
A.
Church
I'm
the
just
benefit of
saying,
the doubt.
not
I think we
not
should
everybody is
absolutely
financially educated.
empower those minority, and I'm going to use minority, empower those minority businesses and infrastructures, churches being one of those. However, to put the burden on not only being the counselor, the pastor, but now the financial advisor on the church as well, I think they're just there'll be a fish out of water. We need to keep it where it is, but we need to create. And from what I'm learning as I hear, like I'm looking you up now on my phone actually, because I think what you're saying is amazing, Mrs. McCormick. I think I'm like, okay, I understand it a little bit better, but I think if we do set those parameters, I think that would help. But we the churches are wonderful, but it's not their area. It's just not their fight.
It's currently
You know,
being negotiated, exactly what Ms. McCormick was referencing. Right now, it is being negotiated. Now, I don't know if that's going to get negotiated out, but I do know
What?
that originally Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they did say that they were people and businesses, minority-owned, veterans groups that did not get the first go-around. And they wanted to add that into the position. Now, I don't know what's going to be the result of the negotiation, but that was what they were holding it, and that's why they didn't pass it.
So what happened for clarification, right? What happened with what Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were saying, there's only been Kamala Harris was the only person who brought up the fact that she wants data reporting, right? They haven't talked about specific language in there that designated. They haven't gone that far to say they want specific language. They just acknowledged that we didn't get the money. That was an acknowledgement. As far as setting forth how they're going to correct it, they have not officially told us what they're going to do. What they've been trying to do right now is get money into that. And that's where we have to say, with all these elected people we have in Congress, with the people we have running, what are they doing right now to make sure that specific language is in there? What are they doing? Who is putting this up besides? And Kamala's just asking for data reporting. I don't want data reporting. Yeah, data reporting is good and everything, but I want language to get to the community.
They originally said that there were groups of people that did not receive, they were not recipients of the funding. And they wanted to make sure that they earmarked a certain amount of the funds for the state, for health,
Somebody echoing.
and for minority businesses. That's what they said originally. I don't know what the result is going to be, but they did say that's why they were not.
So let me ask you guys this question. We're talking about healthcare. So I have because I'm self-employed, I have Obamacare. So I pay my money a month. But there are a lot of people who were laid off or fired or furloughed. Even Teresa, did your husband, was he still able to have his health care?
He was,
Yeah, so now a lot of people, and I think you guys are talking about the Medicaid and so forth, will be applying for that because they don't have a job and you do need health care. And that's going to be another issue, as to where we need to have some places where, back in the day, pay $10, go here, as opposed to, having health care, the medically needed, Medicaid or the medically needed and so forth, that everybody may not qualify for. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's going to be a big burden when it comes to that. Some people are fortunate; they pay for their own health care. Well, I don't know if that's fortunate, but some people pay for their own health care, so it's still reoccurring. But what about those people? I know a few of you have to go. You have other commitments, and we do normally do just up until the hour. But I just wanted to put that out there. That's a big question because even for the testing, and also to let you guys know, there's a walk up. I don't know, is it every day the walk up? That's in Fort Lauderdale at the where's it located?
Urbanly.
Huh? At the Urbanly, right off 6th Street. and 27th, I think, at the Urban League. It's
I
a
don't think
walk
it's
up. I'm
every
quite
day.
sure there's a long line. Huh? It's not every day?
There's two.
Why
I
would
thought they
it
had
not?
one at
Yes,
Mitchell Moore.
there's two. There's one in Pompano, there's one at the Urban League, and they have an appointment line, and you can walk up.
Oh, okay, and you can walk up, but is it every day?
I believe so.
Is that for testing? What is that
Well,
for?
we got
That's for testing.
testing. Yeah, because I had some people that went through line, I guess this weekend. They was like, oh, I seen them on Facebook. I got tested. I don't know if there's something they want to broadcast, but I got tested. And, you
I don't
know,
want to go
I
to that
guess
line.
because they broadcast, it was negative. So my question was to them, did you feel sick? I mean, like, why did you go get tested? Did you feel sick? Or I think it was just a fear, I guess.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
I
don't
ain't
go
going to that
wasting.
line.
I'm sorry, y'all, this is my rent. Don't go wasting tests because you just, you know, just went up there to get tested. If you feel sick, then of course
Waste
you get
space and
tested. We
test.
know when we feel sick.
Yeah,
I don't
Huh?
want no.
that's
I
very
don't want no
important.
Rona.
Only
I don't want no Rona.
2
Now that
out
girl
of
say
every
Rona.
10 people that have symptoms are positive.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah. And some people, you know, mentally who have been sick, because a lot of people have been sick, they self-medicated themselves, or they got their own rest, or did their own type of remedies, you know, and all of that. If it worked, it worked. You know, God bless you. And then some people just fear that if they do go to the hospital, they feel like they might die, you know, or have that fear that, you know, something may happen to them, or, you know, that they just may
Yeah,
get
I
a
don't want
drug
the
that may
Rona, so
not.
I ain't going to the hospital.
Yeah, I mean,
And
hospitals.
that's what a lot of people are saying right now. I ain't going to the hospital. I just go for what I know. That's what we was,
T
you know,
Dog
some
said
people
it.
would
T
say.
Dog said it. T Dog said it.
Okay, so I'm glad that you mentioned him. I just seen him at the. He is a music person, producer, rapper. He has a lot of story behind his name out of the Broward County area, and I just saw a picture. Was that him in the hospital?
Yes, that was him in the hospital, and he took the test and was negative, but he was having chest pain. But his situation was they wanted to put him on the 8th floor at North Broward, and that was where all the recovering people with cases were at. And he said, "No way, I'm not. You ain't putting me on the floor with the recovering patients with the corona." So he was like, "No way, man." His wife checked him out. I don't blame him, man. You ain't finna. If I don't have it, I don't test it negative. You ain't put me on the floor and think I'm finna just no. So but he's doing a lot better. A
Okay,
lot better.
good. No, I wouldn't. I don't know, Teresa. I don't know. I don't know if I'm that, if I would take the chance of going to the hospital.
I got a
I'm one of them kind of people. I just kind of like go for what I know. But even though it may sound, you know, silly or stupid, but I don't know.
That's gonna be the
Hey
same.
guys, y'all out there, y'all.
That's gonna be the same situation when it comes to school.
to the hospital for something small, unrelated to COVID-19, and got
I wouldn't
COVID
go there. Period. Yeah,
and
yeah.
passed. You know, so
Especially to a major hospital, I wouldn't go. North Broward is a major hospital here in Fort Lauderdale, Holy Cross with major hospital. I would go to something simple like University of Western or something like that, where I know that they don't have those type of equipments, you know, for COVID patients to be susceptible to them. But guys,
Y'all
this
see
has been
Bishop.
really
Y'all see
good.
Bishop Shear. Y'all see Bishop Shear is burying his wife. Him and his wife had it, and he's still living, but his wife evidently has passed. So, I mean, that's a serious situation. I'd rather say, hey, I'm gonna stay home, self quarantine, figure out this cold. If it's a cold, I'm gonna figure it out. But to take my chances in the hospital, if you don't got it and you don't think you got it, I don't say go to no hospital, boss. Hey, you end up.
Well, that's only the words by listeners out there by Vincente.
Hey, listen.
That's only his
Listen,
word.
listen. If the hospital workers don't got the right gear, and I complained about not having the right gear,
come on.
why would I want to be where they don't they're there because they're the front line. But if they had a choice, where do you think they want to be at? With their family.
Right. Right, right.
That's
Yeah,
just
it's a
me.
tough situation. I've heard some on online just saying I'm not even going back to work, you know. It's a lot to deal with. It's very stressful, it's very demanding, especially when I mean the PSD of it all, PSTD of it all, of
Yes,
seeing all these lives and then later having to going back to, months later to remembering people you just met for a moment, that's a lot. That's a big toll that
and
will
they
play
don't get
on.
hazard pay. They don't even get hazard pay, which I think is wrong. I don't know why the federal government and the state agencies are not giving the hospitals hazard pay. They deserve to have hazard pay just as much as law enforcement agencies do because they are the front line right now.
Mhm.
Thank you. Good point. Exactly. It's so much that we can talk about that's going on, guys. I know we only have an hour. This has been a very good conversation.
Thank
Some
you all.
things I haven't even gotten to addressing yet, but I'm very mindful of everybody's time. Maybe I'll do it again this week. I don't know. I got so many. Yeah, I got so many Zooms. It don't even make no sense. I mean, good Lord, everybody Zoom you. It
No,
don't even make no
Hey,
sense.
I told you. I
But
just told you. Hey, celebrities
about
overnight.
going down, and that's huge, and affecting everybody's lives and everything of that sort.
right, right, right. So thank you guys. Thank you, Nathan, and also Sheila got off. Sheila has another, I think a town hall, perhaps at 8 o'clock. Nathan has he has a ministry show, P2P. Don't let me because I'm saying it all wrong. But if you check his page, you'll see him there on the live with his church ministry. That sounded better. That sounds better. So, and thank you, Vincente, for coming on and joining us. You
You
gave
want
us a lot of information. If you guys are out there, you want to connect with Vincente, you can. He does a everyday live where he's talking and listen. Vincente taught some good stuff because he know a lot of stuff. He know a lot of people, and
yeah,
and
if
I'm
you have a
glad that
hard
you put
time
it out
getting
there.
that money, if you have a hard time
But you
getting
know
that
what?
money,
You did tell
hey,
us right
hey,
at
I'm
the
gonna raise
beginning.
your hand.
And the best thing about it, David, he was calling out names for people to get it. Hey, such and such, go up there and do, So I know he's one of those people, that have the inside info. But yeah, thank you so much, and I thank you guys for joining the Table Talk radio show, and we'll be back on next Monday, guys, at 7 p.m. Thank you, Teresa. You have a good night. Thank you, David, and thank you,
Thank you.
Vicente.
Thank you.
You guys have a great one.
Good night.
Have a
Good
great one.
night.
Good night.
Good night.